What do you think of this film?
Oh, no. It was not how it was meant to be. This film is absolute wank. Eddie, you need to go back and re-edit the film, Eddie. Change the cut. Do whatever you have to do to include more dancing in this movie. Why is it called The Last Dance when there's not enough dancing?
That's the least of the problems.
We are Venom.
Taking you home and in whose arms you're gonna be. So darling, say the last dance for me. Baby, don't you know I love you so? Can't you?
Hello everybody, and welcome to my latest movie review, where today I review the third movie in the Venom trilogy, Venom: The Last Dance. Directed by Marcel, stars Tom Hardy, Chiwetel Ejiofor, Juno, Temple, and Rhys Ifans. So, Venom: The Last Dance. This is not necessarily a film I was looking forward to be honest. I've made it very clear on this channel that I'm not a fan of the Venom movies. The first movie was just meh. It was okay, it was mediocre. I didn't see what the fuss was about, to be honest. The movie just never went in the direction I wanted, and ever since, I've just never been a fan. They've just really turned the character into a joke, to be honest. And then the second one came out. It was marginally better. It was a wafer-thin improvement. Venom: Let There Be Carnage. I mean, never has a film been more accurately titled. You've had two attempts at this, and it hasn't really worked. So how does this third one fare? Well, stay tuned to find out. Eddie and Venom, on the run, face pursuit from both worlds. As circumstances tighten, they are compelled to make a heart-wrenching choice that could mark the end of their symbiotic partnership. They might as well call it a marriage at this point. Venom: The Last Dance. Or The Last Chance. Yeah, in my opinion, this is one of those cases of 3 strikes and you're out. And this is one of those moments right now. Venom has had 3 movies. 3 movies! And they still can't get it right. I don't know what to say anymore. I'm just baffled by the laziness, the lack of attention, and the lack of detail that is in these movies. Tom Hardy is great. You know, he's doing a good job as Eddie Brock, and his American accent is good, but this time it looks as though it's a paycheck film. He's there to collect his paycheck and then call it a day with Venom, and that's kind of all it is, really. This movie is really kind of a mess, to be honest, which is such a shame. I was expecting it to at least be slightly better than the first 2, but it's actually worse. Yeah, this is probably the weakest of the Venom movies, and that's really saying something. Not that the movie is god-awful, but it's pretty bad, to be honest. The first 2/3 of this movie are a road trip. Venom and Eddie on a road trip, and they're doing that thing that they did in the second film where they just constantly bicker. Oh, we can't wear these shoes, you know, what are you doing? Well, we gotta be kind to these people.
Oh, shut up, Eddie. I'm in charge of all that.
Well, I mean, they don't say that, but you know what I mean. It's just like, they are literally a married couple going back and forth speaking, and you kind of don't buy this friendship. You feel like Eddie's just more frustrated that the thing is attached to him rather than embracing it. So I don't buy this whole emotional investment in the relationship, and the fact that there is the potential for them to detach at the end of the movie. I just don't find it that emotionally satisfying. And certainly when you get to the third act, the emotional resolution is not strong enough for me. It falls completely flat, has no impact. You don't believe the friendship for 1 minute. You know, throughout this trilogy, you don't believe that Eddie sees Venom as a friend. And I mean, this one, they try to force it down your throat, and it's kind of cringe, to be honest. And speaking of cringe, the comedy. See, this is my problem with the Venom franchise, is that the comedy is never ending. They're just throwing the jokes in. It's like the MCU reject movies, and I've said that before. They are the MCU reject films, and you don't feel like this character is a villain. You know, Venom is a villain. You know, he's meant to be a villain for Spidey, but the way that they've portrayed him in this trilogy says otherwise. It's not even funny at this point. In the screening I was in, there were 3 or 4 laughs at the most, but not from me, from the other people in the audience. I just don't like the whole tone of the Venom films, the comedy, it really doesn't work as a light-hearted thing. It should have been much more serious, it should have been much more grounded, it should have been gritty. This guy is a supervillain, yet they're treating him like this average guy who's just a bit of a joke and is a wisecrack. It just doesn't work. To me, it deviates too far from what Venom was in the comics and what he should have been in the movies. Even Topher Grace's portrayal in Spider-Man 3 is more serious than this, and that says a lot. And then we have other cast members and characters that are just thrown here for the sake of it. So we have Juno Temple, who plays Dr. Teddy Payne, who for some reason has this tragic backstory with I think it's either her ex-boyfriend or her brother, I don't know who it is, who got struck by lightning on a beach. And that's never referenced again until the very end of the movie. I think it's her brother, because Chiwetel Ejiofor says, oh, you're living your brother's dream or something. And they're like, what? So throughout the entire film, that's never explained. It's just kind of a, you know, a motivation there for her. And yet she's working in a lab, and it's like, well, why? What does any of this mean? None of it is explained. None of it makes any sense. You could have honestly taken that character out and it wouldn't have affected anything, to be honest. And other characters, like Rhys Ifans plays this guy called Martin, who has a family in an RV. They're going to discover aliens. They're going to Area 51. And that's where the climax of the movie takes place. Admittedly, the climax is very entertaining. That is the best scene in the movie, where you have all these different, you know, venomous creatures come together for one big throwdown. For nothing else, that is a great spectacle to see. But at the same time, it doesn't make up for bad storytelling, because, you know, Martin and his family, they don't need to be in the movie. They're just there to help Eddie get to Las Vegas, you know, and beyond that, they didn't need to stay in the movie. They then stay into the climax of the film and they get involved in the fight, which is pointless. I mean, why? They don't need to be there. And why are they going looking for aliens? Like, I guess Martin is just fascinated by aliens, but it's just like, why? I'm scratching my head going, what is the point of this? It makes no sense. It's hardly necessary. And then I thought, well, they clearly were lazy with this script, and they really didn't care about what was happening. And it's very clear to see that. It's very clear to see that this movie is a lazy byproduct of the studio, and the Venom character clearly is just not important to them anymore. And yeah, there we are. So much so that the end of this film is pretty much a final full stop for the character, unless they do some kind of reboot, which is entirely possible. Then there's Chiwetel Ejiofor, who plays Strickland, this generic fucking colonel who's this asshole. What more do you need to know? I mean, well, I would have liked to have known more, but the movie doesn't bother to develop him, so how am I supposed to care? And that's the thing that I was just thinking about when I was watching this film, is like, do I not care about what's going on because it's so incomprehensibly told, or do I not care because it's just lazy? And then I realized it's both. It's both. You know, it's lazy, it's incomprehensible. Yes, visually quite nice, pleasing. I mean, it's kind of cool going to Las Vegas. This movie is a joke. It's a complete joke, especially in that scene in Las Vegas where, for some reason, out of all the plot conveniences in the world, he meets that woman who used to work in the store. Why is she in Las Vegas? Never explained. And then they start dancing to ABBA's Dancing Queen for no reason. This movie is just a hodgepodge of different bits. Remember when I said about Despicable Me 4 being just a selection of different bits thrown together? That's what Venom 3 feels like. Venom The Last Dance feels the laziest, the sluggiest, you know, because it's so slow, and the most incomprehensible of the three movies. It's just so boring and dull, and the story is very loose, very, very loose indeed. And the character of Null, played by Andy Serkis, is just teased for future projects, so don't get too excited about that. He basically wants this thing called the Codex, which is, for some reason, it's inside Eddie and Venom, but I don't know how. And then for some reason, if you split the two guys apart, the Codex is safe. Again, this movie is a mess. It's a complete mess. The way that they explain things is non-existent to me. And I'm left there scratching my head going, well, what was the point of this story then? If the whole thing was going to lead to them separating, why even have them come together in the first place? You know, you may as well have just tore up the script for the first movie and thought, no, we're not going to do this. Because clearly the studio had the influence on this. Clearly the studio wanted the series to go in this way, and without really thinking about how to make a good film. This movie is not a film, it's a product. And I hate to say that, but it really is. I'll give it this though. Seeing Venom ride a horse, the Venom horse even, that is cool. Visually that's kind of nice, but yet you play a cheesy song with it, like Don't Stop Me Now from Queen. Why? I don't know, I guess to make the film cheesy. I just think these movies are far too cheesy. The soundtrack is not that memorable either, kind of dull, but I'll give it this. I mean, Tom Hardy has done a good job. You know, he's tried his best to bring the character to life, and he is a good actor. And there is this moment in the movie where he does dress in a tuxedo, so clearly this movie is trying to pitch him as James Bond. There's a moment of him wearing a tux and swerving into a casino. You're like, okay, we get what you're doing here. So in the end, I can't really say much more. I enjoyed the action sequences. The story is a mess, and really there's not much else to say. It's just lazy, it's boring. It's the worst of the Venom movies, because at least the first two, you can sort of pass them off as acceptable mediocrity, because you could follow the story, at least. This, you can't follow the story. So for that reason alone, it's the worst. So I'm going to give Venom: The Last Dance.
I will give it a 2 out of 10.
Taking you home and in whose arms you're gonna be. So darling, say the last dance for me. Baby, don't you know I love you so? Can't you feel it when we...
Yeah, Venom: The Last Dance is, well, was the last chance, but they failed big time. So 3 strikes and you're out. I'm done with this series. I mean, the whole Sony spider villain verse, I don't even know what you call it anymore. There's so many fucking film universes now. It's kind of ridiculous. The whole universe is just been very disappointing from the get-go. I mean, you know, you've had Madam Web earlier this year, which wasn't very good. Snorbius, or Morbius, which is dreadful. And the Venom trilogy, which hasn't been great either. I'm not sure if there's one that I do like, to be perfectly honest. I'd have to do a ranking list to really determine my thoughts on that. I'm probably missing one, but there we are. And, you know, they showed the trailer for Kraven the Hunter with this film, so I'll have to see how that fares when I go and watch it. So that's my review of Venom: The Last Dance. What do you think about this film? Please comment down below, let me know. Stay tuned for more future reviews. Please hit the like and subscribe button. And until next time, I'm Pajak's Perspective. See ya. Bye for now.